So first, the birth order stereotypes. So have we ever considered that someone's actions are based off their birth order or their personality, or are we very quick to blame the parents? Many times we see kids like middle school or elementary boys acting up and not sitting still or being super talkative, and you're like, well, their parents must not discipline them. Or a common theme that I even say, like, my parents would never let me get away with that, I'd be grounded, or I would be this, I'd be that. But have we ever considered that that's like how they are evolved in their family or how their personality is? And then I have a little disclaimer here. My advisor, Ms. Roby, gave me a book about the birth order, and it provided me with all this information, but some of it might not be 100% accurate to how you are, so if you're like, hey, I'm not like that, don't hold it against me. So first, we have the oldest sibling. So the oldest sibling can be described as more responsible, more protective over their younger siblings, sometimes the smartest, I don't know about that. And they can be closer to their mothers because, they're the firstborn. They're they made your mom a mom. And so, with all of these, oldest, middle, youngest, I decided to relate them all to a Friends character. Because what do I know best? The TV show Friends. So, for the oldest, I picked Ross and Joey because they are the oldest. And here, you can see they are very protective. So, an example up here in one episode, Chandler and Monica just started a relationship with each other, but they didn't tell Ross. And this is Ross finding out about this relationship, and you can see he's very upset, and the words, "Get off my sister." And so he's very protective over Monica because that's his younger sister. And here in another episode, Joey and his 7 or 8 sisters, I can't count how many there were. Chandler has a fun night with one of them, but can't remember which one it is. And then Joey gets very upset because Chandler can't remember, and then it hurt all of his sister's feelings. So again, very protective. So here we have the middle child. So the middle child can be seen as loyal, the overlooked sibling sometimes, it happens. Very independent because, they're a little overlooked. And they have strong social skills and sometimes can be the troublemaker of the family, mainly due to the lack of attention that they get at home. So then when you go to school, they're like, ah, So for this, I picked Rachel. So Rachel is a very loyal person. Throughout all of 10 seasons of Friends, her and Ross have an on and off relationship. And here in this episode, she writes Ross an 18-page letter, front and back, about their whole relationship. So she's very loyal to Ross and just shows her appreciation to him. So we have the youngest sibling. So the youngest sibling characteristics are more attention-seeking. They're very dependent on their siblings and on their parents. They're the youngest. They can be resilient, and sometimes they think they're the favorite sibling. I don't know. That was just a fact. I don't think so. So here we have Monica. So Monica is very attention-seeking. She's a little high maintenance, and sometimes is a tattletale. So in this episode, Monica and Ross are tattletaling on each other to their parents because, one of them did something mean to the other, and then they're like, yeah, we're going to tell our parents. So a lot of times that does happen with the youngest because the oldest might agree, hey, let's not tell mom, and the youngest like, la, they're doing that, and then, it happens. So the only child. So the only child can be seen as, I put this one, a dating red flag. And so, you see them because, well, they haven't had any siblings to grow up with, so say that they didn't have a sister. Well, they don't know how to treat you or treat other people because they didn't have a brother or sister to grow up with in that kind of relationship. Not a bad thing, but they don't know how to get along with someone the same age as them or near because they didn't have that growing up. Sometimes they can be a little selfish because, again, they didn't have anyone to share things with, so they don't really know any better. They're more confident, and they're more mature. So we have, for example, we have Chandler. So Chandler's very mature, but he's also very emotional. Throughout all the seasons in the Thanksgiving episodes, Chandler is known for boycotting Thanksgiving. Because on one Thanksgiving, his parents announced their divorce, and then his dad was coming out to be a drag queen, and he was really upset about that. And then he just remembers their servant asking, if he wanted more turkey. And then he's seemed very upset in this, and he holds this grudge for the rest of his life and boycotts Thanksgiving just because of this one incident. So how does all of this relate to NMC? So I put out a survey to all my 17 classmates, and I asked them which category described them best. But I didn't tell them which one was only child or middle or any of that. I just had them pick. So here are the results. Many of you know these people, so you're like, hey, that's not what, that's not right to what they are. But there's some reasons why some of these pick which one describes them best. So when can this birth order change? So there are two main factors of why the birth order could be rearranged, and one of them is the 5 or more year age gap. So if my sibling is 5 years older than me or 5 years younger than me, it starts over again because I wasn't growing up with them and we weren't at the same maturity level or the same brain level as them. So one's playing with Barbies and the other's doing makeup, or the other playing video games, and then someone's doing something else. So you didn't have that same bond because you were relatively the same age group. So it starts over again. So for example, I have Maria and Renee. They both selected the only child thing. Well, that's because their older siblings are 5 or more years older than them, so they didn't go through high school or middle school with them or anything. And then we also have some family circumstances. So sometimes events such as sibling deaths, physical, mental, or emotional differences, relationship with your parents, the blending of two families, siblings with disabilities, or some childhood trauma. And then for the example, I have me. So I decided to do some interviews, and I interviewed the oldest child, which is Miss B, actually right over here. And I asked her, can you describe your position in your family, and how do you think it influenced your personality?
I'm Mrs. Bejelski, and I am the oldest of 3 children. My brother and I, there's a year and a half between us, and there's 13 years between my sister and I. And I think being the oldest definitely has formed my personality. I always have this mentality of keeping people in groups, making sure I know where everybody's at. I think there are qualities that help with being a teacher, and also just helping out where I see needs. And I most certainly felt that way as a sister with a little brother, and then when my sister came along years later, definitely felt almost like a mom to her, someone that looked out for her, someone that protected her. So most certainly has affected my personality.
Okay, so then next I interviewed my aunt, who's the middle child, Heidi Melema, and I asked her, how would you describe your relationship with your siblings, and do you think your birth order plays a role in that dynamic? It's very
How would you describe your relationship with your siblings, and do you think that your birth order plays a role in that dynamic?
I love my sisters. Growing up, I was closer to my younger sister. I viewed my older sister as being the leader, bossy. I was intimidated by her. I knew not to touch her clothes or her makeup, but I often played with my younger sister. We had a closer relationship. As we aged, I became closer to both of them, and now as in adulthood, I view them as my best friends, and I cherish our friendship.
Okay. Here's another familiar face. So I interviewed Anna, because Anna, in my definition, is the youngest child. She really is. And so I felt it was very necessary to interview her. And so I asked her, how do you feel your birth order impacts your relationship with others?
I would say my role as youngest child has definitely played an effect in my life, because ever since I was little, my sisters always talked to me, they always did things for me, made decisions for me, and that led to me not even wanting to talk when I was little. So sometimes it's hard for me to take advice from others when I just can take advice from my sisters. So I would say I don't hate being the youngest child. I definitely love it, and I don't regret it at all. And I'm definitely glad that God has given me this role in my life, and I love it.
I was not there for the interview, and she insisted on the dog being in it. Okay, so then I interviewed my teacher over at CTC. Her name is Sarah McKeever, and she is an only child. So I asked her, has being an only child ever affected your social skills or ability to get along with others? And have you ever wished you had siblings? So this video is a little longer, but it's exactly what I wanted someone to say.
Has being an only child affected my social skills or ability to get along with others? And yes, I am more comfortable just sitting in a room and listening at times, but at other times I like to speak up and I'm not afraid to speak up, and I like to, when I was younger, I was not always willing to listen to other people's opinions because I never really had to when I was growing up. I just kind of did what I wanted. Socially, I do not share well at all. I, even to this day with my husband, like I have certain things that I'll tell him, like, this is mine, I'm not sharing, kind of thing. And I think if I had siblings when I was growing up, that I probably wouldn't be that way. And I recognize it in myself, like, this is my spot, this is my snack. But because, I don't know, I'm kind of set in my ways now, it just hasn't changed. And the second part of your question was, have you ever wished you had siblings? When I was growing up all the time, like, I would always tell my mom how bored I was, and my family didn't, like, put me in sports when I was really young. Like, when it was a school sport, I could join, but, like, we didn't have they didn't sign me up for, like, CASA or anything like that. I'm not from Cadillac, but the CASA equivalent from where I'm from. So I was bored a lot. I had to entertain myself. I read a lot. I like quiet, actually. Add that to my social skills. Like, after leaving school for the day, I have to have some quiet. Before coming into school for the day, I have to have some quiet, like, because I'm not used to the chaos. And when my kids are all home, I love it, but sometimes I tell them, like, I need space right now, because I just can't handle it. And when they all start fighting together, I do not like it. All of those things I probably, like, I didn't have sisters or anything like that, so I don't understand the sister fighting over things at all. And now, as I'm older, like, those were younger things, like, I would always cry and say that I needed somebody to play with and blah, blah, blah. Now that I'm older, it's not that, it's more like, I wish I had somebody I could call and talk, like, as my parents get older, talk to about, like, my mom, you know. I realize that, like, when she's 70, so she's not that old yet, but in my mind I'm thinking, okay, as she gets older, all of the responsibility for making the decisions is going to fall on me. So that's kind of a concern, and I wish I had siblings, like, at least to talk to.
Okay. So you're probably wondering, how does all of this relate to me? So these are my siblings. This is a classic picture of back in the day. If many of you knew us from back then, you would say this really describes us. So Anna was the youngest child. She was always throwing a fit, crying. She probably doesn't even know what she was crying about. Just upset about something. Arya was trying to comfort Anna, like, Anna, it's okay. And my mom probably just said, smile for the picture. And then there I am, just like, because, you know, I was just there. So in my earlier years of life, when I was the typical middle child, I was tending to always cause trouble, either like between siblings, you know, taking something of Anna's, making her cry, doing that kind of thing. I was always singing or yelling, and we have many videos of, like, through a camera, I would, like, come up to the camera and, like, shake it or, like, yell into it, like, really loudly. And then, but I was also very content and go with the flow. In this classic picture, we were at Disney World, and my mom wanted to take a picture for our family Christmas card, and she says, smile, and I just drank a green slushie, and I decided to stick my tongue out, and my green tongue ruined the picture, so we couldn't use it. So, my relationship with my siblings growing up. So, Ari and I were pretty close, you know, we were only 2 years apart, and we were kind of like best friends. We always, like, played together, played dolls together, and all this. We had neighbors that were also the same age as us, so we'd all play with them. But Anna, we were not very close with her. Anna, we tend to be very annoyed over her because, you know, like I said, she was always kind of throwing a fit or she was crying about something. We didn't understand why. And then she always kind of, like, got her way, like, you know, my mom would be like, oh, Anna, it's okay. And then there was kind of Ari and I, like, what? So we weren't very close with her. But then that changed over time. So the birth order, how the how the birth order relates to my life is throughout my childhood, as my siblings and I were growing up, our relationship with each other changed due to a little bit of trauma we experienced. So you're probably wondering, Leah, what trauma have you experienced? Your parents don't beat you, or you weren't homeless or anything. So what could you be talking about? And so, well, here I'm talking about my dear sister, Aria. So Aria is anaphylactic to wheat and milk. So many siblings don't have to grow up with an older sibling who has these difficulties, which I didn't really understand growing up until when I could comprehend what was going on. But Aria went through a little bit of a rough patch in middle school. And, a lot of anxiety of everything, and that's when I started being able to understand what was going on. And so this made me very upset because she was upset, so then I was upset. And so this developed some sort of protectiveness in me because I'm like, okay, well now if something happens to Aria, I gotta protect her. But then there's also Anna, so I gotta protect Anna too. But then there's also a need of control because I wasn't able to control any of these situations going on. I just wanted everything to be happy and everything to be better. So then it now that I've grown up, I've kind of sensed that need of control because I want to be able to control it. And it also gave a little bit of anxiety because, some things could happen or some bad things could happen, and then it makes me anxious, but it makes everyone else anxious. So kind of like a little anxious household, but we try not to be. But it's just the way that we had to grow up. Like many people, you don't have to wash your hands before eating your meal, after eating your meal, or be careful about getting Cheeto dust on the couch, or we can't have milk products in our house, just to keep someone safe. But other people don't quite understand the extent that we have to go through. So in this, I became the older sibling. So God made all of our families compatible. So sometimes we kind of wish, I wish I didn't have my sibling, they're so annoying. Or I wish I didn't have my parents because they're mean to me and they make me work or they make me do chores. And so sometimes you wonder, why is this my family? So I like to say that God knew everything. So he knew you before you were in the womb, like in this one here. So for you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. So it's just a Bible verse to remind us that this is our family, and this is why it was our family. God put all of us into each other's lives and on a purpose because he knew that this is exactly how it was supposed to be. So for the next time you wish you had a different family, just stop and think about this is the purpose, and this is how it was supposed to be, and this is how God designed everything to be. Thank you for coming. Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot about questions.
3 comments.
Oh, okay.
Number 1, your house is never boring.
Good. Oh, yeah, it's
And
not.
your father deserves a Congressional Medal of Honor. That being said, number 2, I have all my students in my class, my seniors, have to make a presentation on a subject. And I had some accomplished young men this year, but you, young lady, have got a gift, a God-given gift, to be able to do this at your age. The way you do it is going to serve you so well in life that I'm thoroughly impressed. So I think you should be very proud of the work that you put in. Your ability to present is phenomenal, and sky's the limit. I hope that wherever you end up, you're going to be good at it. I can guarantee you that much.
I'll
Good
try.
job.
Thank you.
If you were going to choose who should be what in your family, what would you do? Who do you think you'd want to be the oldest, the middle, and the baby?
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know. I don't know. I would like to be the oldest.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
thought
like
so.
to be in control. Everyone do this, or I have to know what's going on. I don't like surprises. I don't like surprises. So I have to have everything in a little lineup. So that's kind of like I said that I'm the oldest child because I had to do that role now. Okay.
Leah will never have a surprise gift for her birthday or Christmas because she has to control what she's going to be getting.
Yeah, she knows all it's like, hey, I like this pair of shoes, and I'll send it to my mom through an email and be like, hey, get this for me for Christmas. And she'll be like, okay.
Tammy, do you have my birthday present? Oh, I would like, and here it is.
Yep.
It's one of those things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What was something that surprised you the most, I guess, during your research of what you found?
Well, just about how many people are rearranged in the birth order. Like you see with my class, how, you know, you wouldn't think that Maria would be the only child because, you know, she has a sibling and all that kind of stuff. So just like how different it really like is when you like match it all together.
So Anna, are you looking forward to being the only child?
Yes.
No.
Well, she has a dog now. She has a dog now. The dog's her best friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I find this extremely accurate. I am
Good.
also one of 3 girls. I am the baby.
No.
I am the baby. But I will say, my middle sister was not the troublemaker. That was me. That was my job. That was all me. But it's really interesting because my oldest sister is me and my oldest sister did not get along. She's 8 years older than me, and like there's been physical altercations over the years because I'm like, I don't need you to be my mom. I already have a mom. And she was like my other mom. And then me and my middle sister were always closer. And then when I got pregnant, I called my middle sister like, hey, she was the first person I told. And she hung up on me and I was like, oh, okay, great. Now mind you, I was graduating pregnant, and so I was like, oh, how much worse can it be? I'll just call the older sister. We don't get along anyways. She maybe won't talk to me anymore. She was like, all right, cool, it's fine. We'll take care of this. You can move to Ohio with me. And I was like, what? Like, what is happening? And me and my older sister became super close. So this was a really cool thing to do. I'm fascinated by this. I love it. And poor Roz is on her own. When I'm gone, she's got nobody. So. No, she's got
Oh, yes, you do, Roz.
She's got all sorts of people.
You got friends in all places.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
Very well done.
Thank you, Leah.
Yes.